Today we're gonna learn 3 funk chords that we can use to play different kinds of songs, but in particular we're gonna learn songs that use mainly one chord. We can focus on that particular chord. And we're gonna learn the full version of each chord, and then we're gonna learn a simplified version. So if you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate, or even if you're an advanced player, just stick around and I'm sure you're gonna learn something about funk. Okay, we're gonna start with this chord, which is the E9th chord. Okay, let's go one note at a time. I'm placing my middle finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string, my index on the 6th fret of the 4th string, and then I'm playing a bar with my ring finger. I'm keeping all these 3 fingers together, okay? This is a very common funk chord that we could use, for example, for play that funky music. Right? This is the full version of the chord, or we could play the simplified version of that chord, which would be these 3 notes only. I'm on the 7th fret and I can just do a bar chord for 3 strings, or I can place my 3 fingers like this. Okay, I can go with the index, the middle, and the ring finger on the 7th fret, and I'm playing the 3rd, the 2nd, and the 1st string, and I can play like this. Okay, and if I'm thinking about play that funky music, I can move it around. I can go like. To be honest, I don't find this position to be very comfortable. I prefer to do a bar here and move around the bar. Okay, I can also help my index with the middle finger if I need a little bit more pressure, but hopefully not. And if I want to play that funky music, I can go like. Here I'm playing the 7th fret, then I'm playing the 6th, then the 7th, then I go to the 9th, to the 8th, and then to the 7th again. So, of course, there's a lot going on with the right hand, okay? For now, with one chord, if we want to keep it simple, we can do something like. Okay? I'm only strumming down and up, and then I'm muting. So it's like mute, mute, down, up, mute, down, up, mute, down, up, mute, mute. Let me give you an example of this. I'm gonna play first the full chord, and then I'm gonna try the different variations that we mentioned. Let's go. Okay, so if I just stay there, that already works, okay? So we don't have to play the full chord. If you feel like playing the full chord, be my guest. But when you are starting to play guitar, this could be a daunting chord to learn, okay? So I give you this option where you play a tinier version of that chord, okay? Another thing that you can do is you can take it one step further and you can play only 2 strings. You can play the 2nd and the 1st string, okay? You can go like. You can do it with the bar also. If you want, okay? Or you can just go like. Alright, I give you those 3 options. You have the full 5-string chord, you have the 3-string chord, or you have the 2-string version. Okay, let's move on to another chord. The next chord is gonna be the D minor, okay? And this is the chord that Pink Floyd plays in Another Brick in the Wall. All right, maybe you recognize this pattern. So, you can play the full chord, which is a D minor. I'm playing a bar chord here on the 5th fret. I'm placing my middle finger on the 6th fret and the 2nd string. Then I'm placing my ring finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string, and then the pinky on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. This is the full chord, and if I'm not mistaken, in the original song you hear the full chord ringing, all right? But we do have an option, yeah? We have a shorter version of the chord. We can play like this, and we can play okay, so what am I playing here? I'm placing my index on the 1st string on the 5th fret, then I'm placing my middle finger on the 6th fret and the 2nd string, and then my ring finger on the 7th fret and the 3rd string, okay? So it looks like this. Of course, the right hand, the rhythmic pattern is important, right? But first, we need to play the chord, okay? Now, if I want to play the rhythmic pattern of Another Brick in the Wall, I can play like this. Down, up, mute. Down, up, okay? So, down, up, mute. Down, up, mute. Down, up, mute. All right, that's the pattern. That's the pattern, and I repeat it. So, down, up, mute. 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 I can mute with the right hand and with the left, and most of the times I'm doing both. I'm muting with the right hand and the left. Okay, that means that I release the pressure on the left hand and I place my right hand on the strings to mute the strings. Okay, just to mute that chord. Now I'm gonna give you an example over a backing track, and I'll do the full chord version and also the shorter chord version. Here we go. Okay, we can play only 2 strings here. I can make it even smaller, right? And I can just play these 2 notes, all right? The 6th fret on the 2nd string and the 5th fret on the 1st string, all right? So I can go like... only 2 strings, right? Of course, what we can do is we learn it like this, and then slowly we start to add fingers, right? So maybe we play it like this for a week, for 2 weeks, we play it over a backing track, we play it by ourselves, and then we realize that maybe we can place this next finger. We can play this chord like this with 3 strings. And then, after a while, when we are more comfortable with the bar chords, maybe we can do the full chord. The important thing is that you keep practicing, that you keep improving, and that the amount of strings is not stopping you from practicing, from playing, okay? And then with time, you can add the next notes. Okay, the next chord that we're gonna learn is the E flat minor 7. Why did I choose this chord? Because this is the chord of Superstition, all right? The original song doesn't have an electric guitar, if I'm not mistaken, but anyway, if we play this chord over the song, we'll notice that it's gonna work, all right? So this is the chord. Okay, and in the the back, we probably will hear the this is a E flat minor 7 chord, and I'm doing a bar on the 6th fret. I'm placing my middle finger on the 2nd string on the 7th fret, and then I'm placing my ring finger on the 8th fret on the 4th string, okay? Very similar to the minor chord, okay? The difference is that we don't use the pinky on this one, all right? But this is a minor 7th chord. And we can play it like this, or we can try the smaller version, okay? The shorter version, which would be similar to a D major shape, okay, if you're familiar with this shape. Well, here I'm playing a shape of a D major, all right, and I'm placing my index on the 3rd string, 6th fret, my ring finger on the 7th fret, 2nd string, and my middle finger on the 1st string, 6th fret, okay? So I can go like, we're gonna try it with the backing track, and let's see how that sounds with the full chord and with the short version. Okay, nice. So we have the full version, and we can do this version also. What am I doing with the right hand? This is a little bit more complicated from the right hand, so we can try this pattern that might be a little bit easier when we are starting. What I'm doing is down, up, mute, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's the pattern. So. Best thing to try when we are learning funk is to slow down the backing track that we're using. Okay, so let's give it a try. Okay, there I was playing at 75% of the original speed of the song. So when we're playing this chord, we can also try the tiny version of the song, which is the same tiny version of the D minor chord, but here we're playing 1 fret higher. That means that my index is on the 6th fret on the 1st string, and my middle finger is on the 7th fret on the 2nd string. So I can go. So there it is. We learned 3 chords, different variations that we can try on each chord, and 3 different songs where we can play those chords. It doesn't matter which version of the chord you're playing, if you're playing it full, only 3 strings or 2 strings, but you can practice this over the songs that I mentioned, and of course over other songs. You will notice that these 3 chords are all over the place in popular music and in different genres of music. These are 3 funk chords that you can play with different rhythmic patterns, and we can cover that in another video where I will focus on the right hand and on the rhythmic patterns. Here we're mainly practicing the chords, and then we can move on to focus especially on the right hand and the rhythmic patterns. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.